This is chapter number 4, the Mughal Empire. Now we talk about Akbarnama and Ain-e-Akbari. Now here you see a man who is called Abul Fazl. He is giving a book to the great Akbar. This book is called as Akbarnama. This book is called as Akbarnama. And this book is written in 3 different volumes. Abul Fazl, one of the member of the royal court of Akbar, one of the Navratna. So he wrote the book in 3 different volumes. So what has been written? The Abul Fazl has written the first volume is about all the Akbar ancestors, his purvaj, his forefathers, all the relatives before Akbar. And the second volume has all the ghatnaye, the events in the Akbar's reign, Akbar Shasankal. What are all the events, special events that happened? And the third volume, which is the most important volume, is the Ain-e-Akbari. Ain-e-Akbari. How was the Akbar's administration? How was his policies? What kind of army he has? How the revenue is being collected? What was the tax system? And the geography, the empire, the lands of this empire, Mughal Empire. This is called as Ain-e-Akbari. Ain-e-Akbari. Let me tell you again, Akbar's royal courtier, Mr. Abul Fazl. He has written, and the first one is about the ancestors, second about the events, and third one is about all the policies and the way administration was done. Okay? So this was the 3-volume book written by Akbarnama and Ain-e-Akbari, and this book is the main source of today's historians. All the idea we get from here. What was the culture? What is the Sanskriti? All these things is given here. The most important thing here is, in the third one, Ain-e-Akbari, it was factual data, statistical data, tabular data in the form of the number, about the crops, about the yields, about the prices of those crops, about the amount being given as a salary, that is wages, about the revenues. So crop, yield, prices, wages, revenues, all these were properly in the number form written in Ain-e-Akbari. Okay? So this is why this book is holding that much of importance for the historians. Now coming to Akbar's policy, as I told you, Abul Fazl wrote Akbarnama, and the last volume, it's not Abdul Fazl, it's Abul Fazl. So Abul Fazl, in his 3 volumes of Akbarnama, the third volume was Ain-e-Akbari, and this book was dealing with Akbar's administration, army, revenues, geography. Okay. So there is a word Kotwali. You might be having a Kotwali near you, Kotwal. So this word has come from this information only. Same word is still in 2021, it's still under use. So whole of the empire, he is right, Abul Fazl writes that it was divided into different provinces, right? We have different states and districts. Like this, it was divided, whole empire is divided into provinces which were called as subas. Suba. Different provinces, empire was divided, called as subas, and one will be the subedar. The person who governs or who is holding all the responsibilities of this area is subedar. He will do all the political as well as the military functions. Right now we have Mukhya Mantri, like we have Chief Minister. Same way, the military, working military, because it was all about fight, power, warrior, all these. So military was also very important. So political and military functions were assigned to a leader of the Suba, that is Subedar. Now, one person cannot do it, so there will be some people who are going to support them. The first one, see, there are certain names you need to keep in mind. Wazir Diman, he was the head of the revenue department. Bakshi, he was the head of the military department and the paymasters to the Mansabdar. The Qazi, he was the chief judge. Chief Sadr, he was the supervisor of the royal, the household. Then we have Wakil, he was the head of the advisory board. So there were certain names. In a province, let me tell you that there is one person who is called as Diwan, and he was actually financial officer. Right now we have account officer, or all the financial related, or we have a financial department today in every office. So we have financial officer, he was Diwan. Okay, Diwan. Along with this, we have different kind of people, diverse people were living, different castes were there. So there may be some peace, law and order, certain things will happen. In order to maintain this peace and order, law and order in this Suba or province, the Subedar was supported by their other officers also. Other officers. So what were they called? You have the other officers. Let me name these officers to support this peace and order also, because peace, law and order. First thing is financial master. Financial master was Diwan. Subedar, then we have financial master Diwan. Then the military paymaster, that is the payment who is doing, military paymaster, responsible for paying and keeping records, is Bakshi. Military paymaster, Bakshi. Okay, that is, he was responsible for the payments of, depending upon the soldiers, etc., to the Mansabdars and provinces. And that person who was responsible, or who was a minister or the chief of religious and charitable patronage, that is dharmik or dharmarth, dharma or dharmak, religious and charitable patronage, he was called as Sadr. Sadr. And military commanders were called as Faujdars. There will be, like Senapati, there will be military commanders also. So we have military commanders called as Faujdars. These are military commanders. Similarly, we have police commanders. We have station police officer, station house officer right now, SHO. So the town police commander will be called as Kotwal. This word I was mentioning, Kotwal. Okay, police commander was Kotwal. So these were all the officials who were helping the Subedar to run that province efficiently, and the way Aine Akbari presented in a very good governance way. It was an example. Now let me tell you about Jahangir. Now Jahangir, she is Mehrun Nisa. Before marriage, she was called Mehrun Nisa. After marriage, she was called as Noor Jahan. Mehrun Nisa, then Noor Jahan. And they got married in 1611. And after that, she became Noor Jahan. And she was very extremely loyal, loving, supportive to Jahangir. So Jahangir, he had certain coins. That is, one side titles, both the titles, name of Jahangir and name of Noor Jahan. That is, there was an inscription proper, like struck in the name of the Queen Begum Noor Jahan. So how much infiltration, how much effect, how much Noor Jahan has impact on the Jahangir style of administration, the Mughal emperor, it is seen by the inscription he has given. So you see the document, it is an order, Farman of Noor Jahan. There are certain square seals for the states. There is command of her most sublime and elevated majesty Noor Jahan Padshah Begum. So she was there. Now Akbar, the Abhijat were the nobles, the big people. They have big armies. They are commanding large armies. So all these big armies, that is why they were getting lot of revenue. They have access to a lot of money, revenue, tax, kar. Now those people who are so much influential and powerful, they will send the money. They have an empire, so they can spend the money. So they will make their own network. They will have their own, an independence, right? So if a person who is very outskirts to the empire, Delhi or Agra, now these will have their own network. They will want to get independent. They will have their military power and wealth, etc. So because of their self-interest, in order to get powerful, in order to grab land, in order to grab the big area, this is how the downfall, or you can say shaking of the empire took place. Let me tell you very important thing. Fatehpur Sikri, and this was made as the capital, but soon it was changed, Fatehpur Sikri. So there was it is not actually a masjid, but it was a ibadat khana. Ibadat khana. Now ibadat means praying, like namaz, like puja, archana, like praying to the god. This ibadat means this one, and khana means a part, a place, like a gym khana. It's ibadat khana. So what he did in his Shasan Kal, in his reign, there were different kind of people, diverse people. So there were different religious people and their leaders also. So he called these different religious leaders. That is, he called everyone. He left no one. That is ulema. That is the Islamic scholar, religious scholar, Islamic religious scholar. He called Brahmins. He called the Christians, the Catholics at that time, especially the Portuguese, and the Parsis, Zoroastrians. So all faith, all religion, he called them. And there was a huge discussion, long discussion. So Akbar wanted to know what is the good thing, what is the custom, what is the culture, what is the idea, what is the background, everything about these religion. So what he got out of all these marathon discussion was, this is a picture I am showing, that it is going on in the Ibadat Khana. So what he concluded, the conclusion was, that is why everyone was thinking that this religion, my religion is best, other religion may not be good, it's bad. So there was matandata. Matandata means dogma. That is, if I say you something, you follow it without logic. If I tell you that the earth is square and you just believe it, okay? Today's we have majority government. Whatever they say to their people, they accept it. They don't have logic. They don't put any logic in front of it. And especially in the one religion, they channelize people. So this is dogma. That is matandata. People just follow. They don't have any logic. They don't show any logic. And these people who are matand, they are dogmatic. They become bigots. They become bigots. That is, they become kattar. That is, you have seen people, there is a trend that there is a major community in our India. It is just trying to, do everything with the minority community. They will say anything to the minority community. They will say any word. They will kill them. Whatever is going on. So these are because they have become bigots because of the dogma. That is the religious people have taught them that this is right, this is wrong, and that is how they are thought. So Akbar thought, I have big empire, this much big empire. If people are fighting, if the people because of religion they fight, what will happen to my empire? So he had this idea. So he thought what to do. He has to do something. So he did. He created, or he formulated, he devised a kind of religion. It's not just a religion. It's called an idea to live. That is Sulh-e-Kul. Sulh-e-Kul. That is, if persons have a problem, they will come and do Sulah. That is compromise. Sulah means a compromise between the two people coming together and accepting each other's idea in a very say, conducive way. So Sulah Kul, Sulah means universal peace. It's universal peace. In my empire, in my land, every religion has to, everyone you has to believe, respect the other one. If you have a Bhagwa Vastra, orange you are wearing, you don't need to kill the green wearing people. That's not religion. Religion is respecting others. Religion is all about respect, all about peace, all about honesty, all about justice, all about peace. So this is how the Akbar idea came into being, that honesty, justice, and peace should be the basis of a religion or any religion. Other things, whatever religion says, or any dogmatic thing it says, you don't need to become a bigot. Okay, so don't point any community. Don't try to say that this community does not belong to it, this India, just send them, and all these things are not good. So this Sulah Kal were, and Abul Fazl was very helpful in framing a vision of this governance, all the governance around Sulah Kal. That is why everyone was happy. Every religion person was happy in this. Now we have a Mughal Empire. Whenever we talk about this, 17th century and after, the Mughals, we have economic power, we have economic prosperity. It was commercial prosperity. People were living good life, they were doing trade, they're having good money, especially the bigger ones. So, what happened here? When the international traveler came, there were various travelers, came here. And they told that people are living in a good way, good life they are living, lavish life they are living. And that was one of the points. That is called, they call them as India's Sone ki Chidiya. Akbar, under Mughal reign, it is Sone ki Chidiya. But one side they saw that there is one community, or there is one part of the other part of the coin. There are people who don't have enough food to eat. In India, where's Ambani? Ambani, he is the fourth richest person in the world. In India, we have the person who is fourth number, highest richest. But there are people who are eating their own waste. They are forced to do it. Can you imagine? And that travelers, they said this thing, that there is a vast distance difference. So we have what is the reason? The reason is, what is the reason? The reason is, see, the documents from the 20th year of Shah Jahan reign, Shasan Kal, it tells us that the highest ranking Mansabdars, that is heaviest Zat they were having, they were only 445 of 8,000. That is, you can just take the percentage. What were they? They were only 5.6%. That is, 5.6 highest level people, they were getting around 61.5% of the revenue of the empire. I just want to make it easier. So I'm taking 5.6 as 5 and 61.5 as 62. So if the Mansabdars are 100, assume it 100, 5 Mansabdars, if 100 rupees is coming, 62 rupees is going to only 5 Mansabdars. Okay? If there are 100 Mansabdars, only 5 Mansabdars are getting 62 rupees from 100 rupees. Other 38 rupees, only this remaining 95 was getting. Only remaining 95. So that was the difference, that only few people were having lot of money, lot of alishan living. And that is how travelers said. Mansabdars, and this Mansabdar, and the king, Mansabdar and king. If somebody comes, that is the artisan or a farmer come, and they are big farmers and big artisans. They are getting money. So these artisan may be taking this culture from somebody. This farmer is also getting some crop and etc. thing from somebody. So the middleman is getting more money. So money and money they are getting. But what about the lowest level people? That is why there was a vast difference, or there's a difference in the level of the of the last person who is standing in the queue. That is why what happened? There was slowly and gradually, Mughal emperors slowly declined because at that time Hyderabad, Awadh, and there are other dynasties which came up, and because of the failure, because of the problems which existed of the asamanta, of the inequality between the rich and the poor. That is how our then Lucknow area you can assume to be. So this Hyderabad and other region came into being, and we will talk about the other discussion, that is Mughal emperor in Delhi as the master. What happened later on? We'll talk about that later. Now, in this same period, we will talk about the kings and queens of other area. So the most important is here. He is called as Sultan Suleiman. Sultan Suleiman. Now, if you see, this is the Ottoman. Basically, the key point, center point is Turkey. Now, he ruled from 1520 to 1566 on the Ottoman Empire, Ottoman Samrajya. Now he became so powerful. First of all, he expanded, or he defeated, or he went to Europe, then captured Hungary, Austria, Baghdad, Iraq, North Africa, Morocco. All these they acknowledged the authority, Ottoman authority, and they restructured the already existing navy. That is why they had problem or competition with Spain in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, and then Portuguese in the Arabian Sea. Now this person, he is called as a lawgiver, al-Qanuni. That is, he made good laws, Qanun. That is, he had made the Qanun in order to protect the peasantry from forced labor and extraordinary taxes which are levied always on the poor person like the peasantry. So his reign was remembered as a period of ideal governance. He was called as Suleiman Qanuni. Sultan Suleiman was also called as Suleiman Qanuni. Okay. Now in the same period we have Queen Elizabeth from 1558 to 1603 from Britannia, British, England. Then we have Safavid ruler of Iran. I told you about that. We talk about different Mughal emperors. So Safavid ruler of Iran, Shahbaz. And there was a bad people also. So controversial Russian ruler. He was called Tsar Ivan IV Vasilievich. And he was called as Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible. So this is from 1530 to 1584. So this is all about this chapter. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.